This is a battle we've never faced in my lifetime. I want to tell you about 416 of the most amazing people. Every day I get to see their skill, professionalism, and dedication. Their commitment to protect and improve the health of everyone in Hillsborough County. The last 2 months, they've been on the front line of a battle with a very dangerous enemy, COVID-19. And they've risen to the challenge in the most amazing, heroic way. Everyone has contributed, sacrificing their personal life, which they put on hold. They're making a difference for everyone they help, and every day I get stopped and told just how amazing they are. I'm proud and blessed to work with them, my second family.
Hillsborough County, along with local and federal health experts, are encouraging residents to wear cloth face masks to cover their nose and mouth when in public to help stop the spread of COVID-19. There are not enough surgical face masks for everyone, and available ones should go to healthcare workers and first responders. It's easy to make your own face mask out of common household items. The CDC and U.S. Surgeon General say you can use an old scarf, bandana, or make one using a t-shirt plus 2 rubber bands. Cut part of the t-shirt into a square, fold it from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top. Repeat those steps one more time, then add a rubber band to each side. Bring each end to the middle, then secure around your face. They should fit snugly but comfortably. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children younger than 2 years of age or people who have trouble breathing. The CDC emphasizes that while wearing a face mask, you should still practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from others, and continue other preventative measures such as frequent hand washing. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for up-to-date information.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mayor Jane Castor, and we are calling the Hillsborough County Tourist Development Council quarterly meeting to order Thursday, February 11th. So I'll have everyone look at the agenda. The meeting minutes have been posted, so I will take a motion to accept those meeting minutes if there's no objection.
This is Bob Morrison, so move.
This is Jeff Antonaccio, second.
Thank you. Do we have any comments, questions?
This is Rick Shantz at council. We're at a virtual meeting only, so we're not able to take any votes at this meeting.
Oh, okay. And then we won't.
We will be able to address these minutes as well as the two previous meeting minutes at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's.
Again, for technical purposes, everyone please remember to mute their mics when they're not speaking to reduce the feedback. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone registered for public comment?
No, Mayor Castor, we do not have anyone sign up for public comment.
All right, we'll close public comment at this point, and let's look to the administrative reports. Ron Barton, could you please provide us the quarterly financial report?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I'm sorry to throw you in the breach like that. But yeah, to remind everybody, because we're virtual, the rules of engagement are we can't take any votes. And so we can, and if there's substantive conversation about a future agenda item, you can put it forth as an item for discussion in the May meeting, but we can't debate it. So thank you, Mayor, for stepping into the breach. So what I'd like to do, if you could, just pull up the presentation material for the administrative report.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
And a reminder, I know he said it, but make sure you're muted. It just cuts down on the feedback. If you could go to the beginning. Yep. There we go. Okay, next page. So what we have here, I know you're all used to seeing these. This is our first quarter financial picture for the TDT dollars, and specifically it's for the 3% on the left-hand side and the 6%, 1 penny, on the right-hand side. So you can see our collections for the first quarter. We're about 22% of collection of budget. So as we all know, it's not typically even in terms of the quarterly collections of revenue. In fact, first quarter typically is a little lower than a pro rata share of 25%, if you think about it that way. So we're around 22 or 23% of the budget was collected in revenue in the first quarter. So nothing alarming. But we do, as you can guess, just like we did last year, we want to watch our revenues in and our expenses out, because we certainly have been the most impacted of the revenue streams and the contractual obligations related to COVID. You can see all the expenses associated with the first quarter. All of you know that we have contracts with each of these entities, from the Sports Commission to the Visit Tampa Bay to our out-of-area marketing. We typically make our first quarter payments early in February, so not surprisingly, you don't see many expenses yet. You'll see the Visit Tampa Bay and the soccer complex, but other than that, the majority of these others, we made payments starting in February, and so you'll see in the second quarter financial report, obviously substantially more expenses associated with that. You also see at the bottom of that left-hand table, the transfers from the trust fund. This was the $4 million that we pulled out of the reserves or the trust fund for TDT and allocated to Visit Tampa Bay separately of their baseline contract for additional marketing to recover from COVID. And so we just show that down at the bottom because that was not a budgeted item. It was an item we pulled up out of reserves in the trust fund. Likewise, on the right-hand side of the table is the 6th cent. It's 1 penny. And you'll see the revenue collections there as well. We've made the allocation to Visit Tampa Bay as a pro rata of the $1 million plus. I'll remind you of something I've said in each meeting. The city of Tampa has been a great partner with us. And so we have an agreement related to matching their dollars on the convention center. And by mutual agreement, we hit the pause button. And so we have the city's cooperation, frankly, to either pull that $2 million down this year or not pull it down. We'll do that in a joint decision process. But that was our safety net in case we had catastrophic impacts associated with COVID. The city was a wonderful partner in allowing us to basically park $2 million of contractual obligations and sit them on the sidelines until we could see more certainty. My gut reaction is we'll probably be okay, and I've already reached out to the mayor's staff on this item to see if they're positioned to be able to draw down some of that money or not. But we'll just monitor that over the next couple, 3 months. And if we can move forward with additional improvements at the convention center and match it with these TDT dollars and not be at risk financially, then we certainly want to go on and do that too. So thank you, Mayor, for your staff's work helping us with that. So that's the financial statements for the first quarter, kind of vanilla at this point. Second quarter, you'll start seeing a lot of the expenses hit. If you could go to the next slide. In these slides, you see the revenue collections. So on the left-hand side is a table that just shows all collections. And the reason we have a yellow highlight is that happens to be the particular period when we initiated the 6th cent. And so you have a variable in there when you look at the totals because you had a 5 cent collection before the yellow and a 6 cent collection after the yellow. Probably the more useful table is the one on the right. That shows the 3 cent. And so you have apples to apples across the board because the 6 cent is not in those numbers. And so what you'll see are the revenue collections for this year and the percentage decreases. A reminder, we weren't in COVID this time last year. So those revenue collections in FY20 up until, as you can see, the May number were consistent with normal operating conditions. So we are running at basically a little over 40% for these 4 months. We're running a little over 40% below the months in the year previous. That was anticipated. I think I mentioned to you when we revised the budgets for COVID, we assumed a 45% reduction over the projection that was pre-COVID. So as long as we keep tracking at under 45%, then we're okay with our new projection. That's basically our operative. At any point I see the months go above that, then obviously we want to be very concerned in watching our revenues versus our expenses. But all in all, you know, we're steadied out. Certainly it's diminished revenue, but it's a pretty consistent level, as you can see there. If you could go to the next table. Here we just have graphics, and really the most useful is the one on the left. So that's the 3 cent, and we went ahead and added in dark blue, the top end line. The dark blue is FY19. So there's a normal year in the dark blue, certainly all pre-COVID. Then in the middle, in the light blue, is FY20. So you see part of our normal year, which was actually tracking better than FY19, and then COVID hit. And then on the green, you can see what we'll have, unfortunately, is probably a full 12 months of something related to COVID. And so the green will be able to track a full 12-month period under some impacts associated with COVID. So that kind of gives you a graphic presentation. The ones on the right are not going to differ. They're just the 3 cent, the 6 cent, and the fourth and fifth. They're all going to track the same in terms of trend line. I believe, let's see, could you go to the next page?
I believe that's last.
I think it is too. So with that, I would, Madam Chair, answer any questions from the board associated with the administrative report. Make myself available.
All right, thank you very much, Ron, and we echo the appreciation for the support with the county and everybody working as a team here together. Does anyone have questions about the financial report? Comments, questions? All right, we did such a good job, there are no comments or questions. All right, now we will turn it over to Santiago for his report from the Tampa Bay Convention and Visitors Bureau. Go ahead, Santiago.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good morning to everyone. As always, it's a real pleasure to be with you, even if it is virtually. I'd rather have these in person, but I think we'll just do this for a little while longer. Before I get into our report, and our report will add a little bit different color to some of the information you've already seen, and even include some additional information that wasn't a part of that financial report. Let me just thank each and every one of you for all of the support we've seen with supplemental funding, and you'll see how those dollars have been invested in the results of those dollars, but also the support we have received during this Super Bowl week. And actually, for some of us, it's been over 5 years. It's crazy to think that Rob and I made the presentation to the NFL owners back in 2016. And we just had the game this past Sunday. So I don't know what kind of gestation period that is for an event, but it's that birth took a long time for some of us that were involved way back from 2015 and 2016. All hands on deck effort. Thank you to the county, to the city, to all of our hospitality partners. A huge success. The media exposure we've received, and in turn, the kind of business that we are starting to see already fall into our hands for this year is pretty dramatic. And I really want to thank my team. Quite honestly, they do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that no one sees, but is always vital to the success of the Super Bowl. So to the Visit Tampa Bay team, thank you. I know some of them tune into this meeting, and I wanted to go on record thanking them. And quite honestly, even through the numbers that we've seen, since we haven't been together since last year, in December, Forbes, with Smith Travel Research numbers, named Tampa St. Pete the busiest travel destination in the U.S., even throughout the pandemic. And who'd have thought a year ago that about 50% occupancy in the U.S. got you that #1 spot? So I'm going to temper my enthusiasm by saying we've done okay. We're nowhere near where we want to be. But the fact that Tampa St. Pete, and it wasn't any one side of the bay carrying the other. I watched those weeklies, and in some weeks we were about 49%, and Visit St. Pete was over 50, and then the other week it flipped a little bit. So I can tell you that collectively, for both of us to be named the busiest travel destination in the U.S. for 2020 was something after what we all went through and the lows of the lows back in April. So if we could put up my presentation, I'd love to walk you through some slides here that'll maybe add a little color to what we've been talking about for our first quarter here, which is October through December. I think we can jump to the first slide that has some numbers on it, please. Okay, so this is December, the last full month that we have Smith Travel Research data for the destination. You can see there our county numbers, that's county-wide versus December of 19. You can see Florida's numbers there and the U.S. numbers. We fared a little bit better as far as occupancy, which is that top line that goes all the way across. And quite honestly, we fared a little bit better on revenue drops compared to Florida and the U.S. What's not on the slide and is here on my notes because it'll be in our next quarterly is how year-to-date we perform. So I just talked about Forbes. So for year-to-date, our occupancy average for Hillsborough County was 48.9% occupancy, which was down 33.3% from back in 19. Average daily rates were $106.95, which was down 12.9% compared to 2019. Revenue per all available rooms, $52.30, down 41.9% compared to 19. And total room revenue, according to Smith Travel Research numbers, with the county, we only capture taxable, but total room revenues for Hillsborough County for 2020 dropped by 40.2% compared to the prior year. So that information is not in any particular slide. That's year-to-date January through December 2020. And I can tell you that January already is the strongest month we have seen since April. Hotel occupancy for January is hovering at 55% occupancy. So it's the highest occupancy we have seen per any month. Now, normally January, we're in about 75% range. So, still 20% off. And February, I just received hot off the press. I was actually looking at it on my iPad. For February 1st through the 6th, occupancy was 67.5%, and revenues were up 14.3% compared to last February. And last February, obviously, was a record setter. So you won't see these dollar numbers until future meetings, but January and February have certainly started off pretty strong for us. Next slide, please. So this is how December we stacked up against the comp set. These are the slides that I warmly refer to as misery loves company because they're all negative numbers. It's just how big your pain is. So December we started seeing a pickup in some other destinations. I can tell you a few months ago we were number 1 or number 2. So you're starting to see a little bit of pickup in some of the other destinations, although our real numbers are still better than theirs. Their percentage of negative is starting to decrease. So we're starting to see some of these other destinations, and this is a slide on occupancy, the difference in occupancy for December 20 versus December 19. Next slide, please. Looks at average daily rates, and there you see that we're still holding that number, almost number 2 slot there. We're tied with Louisville, which is interesting for December. And you see Fort Worth has had some success in the month of December because they've been near the top. And again, this is our competitive set, which looks at similar assets, convention center, et cetera, et cetera. There are 2 outliers there, Orlando on one end and then Milwaukee on the other end. And then the last slide really shows revenue per all available rooms. That's the next slide, please. And you see there, from second position to 4th position, we're all very tight there. Louisville, Baltimore, Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay refers to Hillsborough County. So this is Hillsborough County specific. And you see Fort Worth there starting to narrow their differences, although their numbers are still below our numbers. But they're starting to narrow their difference there in Fort Worth. Next slide, please. So our submarkets, downtown, Q1, these are actual Smith Travel Research numbers for October, November, December. Still missing that critical convention piece, although Super Bowl will have something to say about it, and January numbers should be better for downtown performance. You see there what that Q1, October, November, December look like downtown. Next slide will be our East Tampa, which is really East County. So it includes some of East Tampa, but mostly that Brandon, State Fair area, the amphitheater area. You see there that they have been performing very, very strong throughout the entire pandemic. Best performing submarket in all of Hillsborough County, and that's because of the type of business they draw and the type of visitors that tend to visit the hotels in that district. Next slide would be our North Tampa Bush. If any has come in second place because they're not as dependent on convention business and, airport traffic, is that North Tampa Bush area, which does include those points of the city north. And then the last is West Shore, and West Shore is on the next slide, and also narrowing their negative percentage, but also very, very dependent on convention business, small meetings, et cetera, which we've talked about in prior meetings. Next slide. So Ron talked about this, Mr. Barton. These are the October, November, December, but remember that the collections are a month behind. So it's really what has come in for September, October, November. When you collect the tax in September, you have until October to remit it to the county. So really the dollars we're seeing are dollars that were collected in September, October, November that count as our October, November, December total county taxable revenue. So we've not seen real December or real January yet. We will see those in our next quarter report. So those are the numbers for the first quarter for total county taxable revenue. Next slide, I believe, shows the bed tax, total bed tax, all cents included for what we've seen. And the discrepancy there with 19 is, again, the 6 cent was not in play back in 19. So that's why 19 is low. But you still see there the discrepancy again on bed tax collections, actuals for September, October, November, which are our October, November, December numbers. Next slide, please. And this is just a pictorial line graph depicting what I've just said, again, for those 3 periods. So I think we can skip right through that one as well as the next one, because we've talked about all of those. All right, so this is kind of the heartbeat of Hillsborough County hotel revenue, according to Smith Travel Research. And I don't like this one. You see where we were back in January, February of 2020. And then you see the drop March, April. And then you see the slow rhythmic growth that has been going on through the 23rd of January. This does not include the last week in January or the first week in February, which I've already mentioned. So you see the heartbeat ticking up a little bit on the patient here, but we still have some ways to go to get back to those January, February numbers from 2020. Next slide, please. So really good news on the convention sales front, I mentioned. We've had, in addition to 18,000 rebookings for Q1, we've also confirmed an additional 45,000 room nights from March through September of 2020, which is really, really exciting. We were able to preserve 3 citywides that were for 2021. We've added 1 tentative citywide for late November, December of 21, approximately 3,000 room nights. And we've got, this is really, really exciting, 4 tentative citywide relocations. They're moving from other cities, 1 for June, 1 for August, 2 for November. And we've already scheduled the U.S. Travel Board meeting for March. WrestleMania is not in here. Destinations International is having their CEO Summit in May. We've already announced Connect Marketplace in August. And just this week, we announced that we will be holding Florida's premier travel tour international showcase here next year in 2022. Visit Florida's Florida Huddle. So lots of cool things landing, not just for 2021, but for 2022 as well. So lots going on there. Then the next slide shows a lot of the events that had to be rebooked because of the impact of COVID that we're still feeling. So you see there where some of these events have fallen going into the future based on what has happened. And these don't include annual repeats, WrestleMania, or some of the sports stuff like Division men's basketball. So this is just stuff that were regular run-of-the-mill conventions that we needed to find locations for that were rebooked, 79% of which were impacted by the pandemic. So we only lost about 20%, and those were beyond our control. There was just no rotation time for us, no room, and some actually may never, ever do in person. So again, these are the ones that could be saved moving forward for future years. Next slide, please. Really great news on multicultural meetings and events. We're able to book National Organization of Blacks in Government for August 2024. We are working on multiple years of the Church of God in Christ that happens during a very strong need period in the summer. So we're looking at summer 2025 and 2028, including some additional events surrounding the Church of God in Christ. So very, very excited about future summer possibilities here with that great organization, and the economic impact there. You see estimated economic impact of over $40 million. So big events for us in the summer, and that's been built through our relationships with Sherry Brown and some other members of our team with the Church of God in Christ, and even some that are on the call today. So thank you all for helping us move that those events forward. Next slide, please. So this does not include everything we just went through with the Super Bowl. I can tell you we've done hundreds upon hundreds of interviews that have highlighted the destination. Just to name a few, the BBC, USA Today, CBS National Morning News, the Today Morning News, Bloomberg News, UK Telegraph, French radio. I mean, the list goes on and on, but this is through Q1. Not including everything we just recently done. So next quarter, these numbers will even be more significant. And again, this is earned media value, corporate exposure that we work very hard to get, the biggest bang for not a buck. So this is all earned media. So again, kudos to our marketing team. Next slide, please. And believe it or not, it's almost starting to feel like normal as far as people coming into market, believe it or not, with masks and with all the protocols in place, and including our teams going out of market. So lots of stuff starting to stir as far as attention for us, which is really, really great. Next slide. Ron, please don't pull the hook on me yet. I'm real soon. Next slide. So let's talk about some of the dollars that have been invested from the TDC contingency fund as well as Visit Tampa Bay. We launched early on, and I think that had something to do with the success that Forbes, mentioned. We started a campaign back mid of June 2020. Obviously, we had some spurts and stutters based on what the virus had to say about what we were trying to do. And this one went through the end of our fiscal year. The next slide, I believe, shows some of the creative that was used throughout those campaigns. And again, the messaging had to be flexible to the conditions that we were facing. So you see there a lot of the images. And then I think hopefully the next slide will play. If not, we'll skip it. It's a 30-second spot that appeared on Hulu and Amazon and some of the connected TV stuff. So let's see if it'll play. So again, a focus on no crowds, just families together with wide open spaces, not surrounded by crowds where, masking might be an issue or non-masking might be an issue. So again, that's why we took the opportunity to show these wide open spaces that people can enjoy and really, not be worried about getting sick. So a lot of that has resulted in the next slide. So from June through September, this is estimated campaign revenue, which is really actual. This is data being compiled through all of the agencies where we're investing the marketing dollars. $12.4 million in hotel revenues. That's a 40+ return on ad spend. Over 39 million impressions, and this is really interesting data. The top flight origins where people are flying in from or flew in from June through September are those. And then where hotels are being booked from, interesting, Tampa always appears on the list, and that's because people book hotels here for friends, family, people that are coming to visit. So you see where those top hotel origin market bookings are. And again, this is provided by data that's being collected by the folks we're spending the marketing dollars with. Next slide, please. And so we've already kicked off with the $4 million that Ron mentioned earlier, and our $4 million normally, well, not normally budgeted, but budgeted this year. From October through January, we've seen almost 14.5 million, a little bit better than $14.5 million revenue come in. You see there how many room nights have been booked through these media channels, how many search room nights, average daily rate for those rooms that were booked. And again, you see there top flight origins as well as top hotel origin markets. So again, the campaign is being measured every week. We even have data beyond January 11th already, but we'll share that at our next meeting because we had turned in our presentation early on, so we don't have that data. So again, performing very, very well for us. That's $14.6 million in hotel revenue coming in to Hillsborough County. Next slide, please. We've been busy at work developing a video series called On the Horizon, because lots of folks want to know whether we've stood still during the pandemic or not. And so I believe this On the Horizon video focuses on the Midtown development, and so we'll try to play that now.
You can see the stadium and you can see downtown Tampa from a lot of different viewpoints in Midtown Tampa. We're a little over a year into construction, and all the exteriors are getting finished up now. People are moving inside, and by mid-January, we're actually going to have the hotels and rooftop bar open for business. All the exterior finishes are getting done. There's less and less cranes every day. They're moving on to the inside of all the buildings. Well, my favorite thing about the architecture of Midtown is that every element is different. The hotels, you have their own personality. The apartments have their own personality. The office has their own personality. There's nothing cookie cutter about anything. No two things look alike, and I love that. The Commons is a large an acre of grass. It's going to be pre-wired for sound. We can have movies there. We can have concerts there. It's all pre-wired and ready to do whatever kind of event we want to have. And then the streets inside Midtown are private. So if the event is that large, we can actually block off the streets and use the Commons and the surrounding streets. Midtown is a true mixed-use property with offices, multifamily, and retail, and over 10 restaurants. If you live here, you can walk around with your dog. We're very pet friendly. When people come to Midtown, we want them to feel a sense of community. It doesn't matter if you live at Midtown or work at Midtown. When you get into Midtown, the feeling of it being one nice place, friendly place to be, where you can eat, you can work out, you can meet friends, you can see an outdoor movie. So it's just a really good sense of community. Well, there's a phased approach, and we hope to have most things open by summer.
So, Madam Mayor, that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions anyone might have on our board. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Santiago. And though we saw a lot of down arrows there, the fact that we're number one on the hotel room nights is incredibly encouraging. And then just the number of events and things that are going to come to our community. There is little doubt, we all worldwide, everybody has been affected by COVID, but there's little doubt that we will recover so much more quickly than in other areas. And we're already seeing that through presentations like yours, And, the world stage we were just on with the Super Bowl, although it wasn't the economic boom that we expected from a full throttle Super Bowl, it did put us up on that world stage. And as we discussed earlier, we could not have ordered better weather. Just the entire venue, first time it was outside, everybody enjoyed themselves and everybody came, whether their team was in it or not. People were coming down here based on our weather and just all that Tampa Bay has to offer. So it really was an outstanding event, the Super Bowl, and just an outstanding time for our entire community. Most importantly, we made history and Super Bowl in our own backyard, and that just couldn't have been more fun. Rush the parade along because the Buccaneers were leaving, so if we wanted to have the parade with the players, had to have it yesterday in sort of an abbreviated fashion, but that again showcased all that's great about our community and the fact that we can celebrate and we can do it safely. So I was very proud of our community, very proud all the way around. And the only other issue that I think we will have to discuss, maybe not today in this forum, but is COVID and the new variant that is out and about, because we don't want to see another downturn, another one of those graphs that looks like we flatlined for a few moments. So everything is looking up. I thank everybody that played a part in making the presentation that you were just able to give Santiago. I don't mean that just from a technical standpoint. Everybody that's out working on the ground promoting Tampa Bay, ensuring that that people that come here have a good time and do it safely. Economic development, EDC. I cut 5 ribbons last week. Businesses are coming here, people are coming to visit, and so having our face out there on the world stage really has a long-lasting impact. So thank you very much. Any other comments?
Yes, I just wanted to, this is Commissioner Kemp. My deep apologies for not having been present at the beginning of the meeting, sorry. And just wanted to introduce myself to the board. I know most of you here, and I'm deeply apologize for, I was here for some of the presentation, and it is good to see things more normalizing. It was heartbreaking, just like you said, the minute I saw the graph that had, you said the heartbeat, and I saw it, and you said, I don't like seeing that graph, and it was like, it's kind of visceral when you look at it, and you're just like, oh, and to think that we had such a Tampa Bay year, between everything, and that it was COVID year, that we had Lord Stanley, the World Series, and the Super Bowl, and I'm hoping that that we can bring the Super Bowl back again sooner rather than later, and maybe they will be up for that. And I just, everything was just utterly perfect. I mean, in so many ways, I just thought I was also just very, very proud and very excited by everything that's moving and going forward in a great way. I'm looking forward to, I hope for soon that we can start moving on our transit in the area, because I think that's critical to how we move about, and especially when we bring in these dollars. But it's unfortunate that the economic dollars, the economic opportunity, the development dollars we missed this year due to COVID, but it seems to be, we seem to be really just moving ahead in leaps and bounds despite that, and it's good to see the numbers recovering. And one thing that I was just curious about, one thing, Santiago, you said that some of the convention opportunities that we got were coming from other cities, that they had decided to move from other cities. I just wondered if you could speak to that for a moment, or any insight into that?
Yes, absolutely. So, depending on how different states have handled the pandemic,
That's what I thought.
it is more difficult to have a convention, a gathering, because they're just not suited to do it because of whatever reason. So we've got 4 right now that may end up relocating to our community this year, and they're rather large. We can't speak specifically to them because we haven't signed the contracts yet, and they may have some things they have to work out at those other destinations in order to move forward. I can tell you the Connect Marketplace event we're having in August was supposed to be in Puerto Rico this year. And that is one of the largest tourism trade shows in the country. That one is already signed and is coming this August. I can tell you that not all communities have put in place what our city and county has put in place as far as ordinances and allowing us to try to move forward and do things safely, as the mayor has said. And so if you are still going to have a hybrid event where it's some in person and some through technology, and you can't do the in-person in some other city, they're seriously looking at us and the exposure we have gotten because of not just the Super Bowl, but all the other things we've done throughout the pandemic have made us a key player in some of those relocations. So we're super excited to try to, pen those and be able to announce them here shortly. In fact, we're probably going to put out a press release real soon on all the groups that we're starting to see coming our way. I mentioned a number of them: U.S. Travel, Destinations International, Connect, you name it. They're coming our way, and it also helps that we have, like the mayor said, the ribbon cuttings on so many things. You don't see a JW Marriott open during a pandemic in most places. You don't see a Marriott Edition about to open, or a Hyatt Place, Hyatt Home downtown, or the Aloft and the Element in Midtown, or Hotel Hyatt in Ybor City. I mean, that's not happening in a lot of other cities across the country. So the fact that we have even those new assets is helping us draw more conventions and groups to the area.
That's great. I mean, it's, and like the mayor, I'll just emphasize too, I still have my, and I'm sure everyone does, but our deep worries about the COVID and the variants and the vaccine's ability to manage the variants if they get out of control, and the spread that aids in mutations apparently. So I guess we're in a extreme race, vaccine versus variants. It sounds like to me, and I'm just hoping that we can get this thing under control and move forward with our future. But it is something that makes you take pause a bit, and not to put any downside on. We certainly don't want that, but I mean, I just think all exercise of all safety and precaution and doing everything we can to contain and control while we can, because not only is it making people sick and people are dying, but it allows the mutation and the variants to get out there before we can contain what we have. So I hope we're able to do that, not just locally and in the nation, but in the world, because that is apparently what we're dealing with, a pandemic. So, but it is exciting. And so I'll bring it back to, it's wonderful, exciting, incredible, great to see all that's going on, and where we're moving, and it's a great direction. And I don't know if I know I was supposed to be cheering. I don't know if I should, or if other people want to, or whatever.
Commissioner, I will. If I had a gavel, I would hand it over to you. I think all we have left are comments that anyone may have, and then we can close it out. So one thing before I turn it over to you about the Super Bowl, and I know that Santiago probably had these same conversations when I was at events with Commissioner Goodell. He was incredibly complimentary of our entire community, the security, the look, the fact that we had everything outdoors safely. And I made a comment about, we'd like to get right back in line. And he said, I hope we do. So
That's great.
I think that was a great comment. So that's it for me. Thank you all for being very patient with me. And I'll turn it over to you, Chairman Kim.
And I don't know if you didn't have to do that, but I'll take it. And then if there's any, I didn't know if there were any further discussions or comments to be made by anyone at this time.
Madam Chair, it's Ron Barton.
Yes.
And again, not to preempt any TDC members' comments, but a couple of reminders. Our next quarterly meeting will be May 14th. The curveball is it'll be on a Friday, not a Thursday. We normally have Thursday meetings. And so it'll be 10:30 Friday, May 14th. So and of course, we'll always send out meeting notices. And number two, just for the future, a reminder that we are in lockstep with the county and a biennial budget process. So I'll be bringing back in the May meeting some projections about revenue collections of the TDT and potential expenditures. It'll be an interesting process. I know that each of you will be engaged with us as well. Whose crystal ball we use, it's going to be a tough one, but we will at least have many months of activity at the COVID experiences that hopefully we can maybe establish the bottom line number and then make some recommendations on expenditures. But we will bring that material back in the May meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I guess also, and you probably heard this, Mayor, but yesterday Congresswoman Castor had caught us, several of us, and had said that we could, that it looked positive in terms of moving another in stimulus-related money to COVID to the county in fairly short order of another. We had originally gotten, I think, something like $250 million, another $250 million to the county, but I think they said something like $37 million to the city as well, and that looked positive for that. So that again is good news from the COVID relief end of the spectrum, that we maybe can look for that and look for it again at the county and city level. So I think it's much needed. I think we're going to be facing some really hard times outside of this industry, but just in general, it's going to, but we seem to be pretty resilient. And one of the, of course, great advantages I think we have during COVID times is because we can have so much outdoors. It's just amazing. I mean, you can eat outdoors here all winter, and well, pretty much. And so it's been, it provides us with a lot of great opportunity that other places don't necessarily have.
Yes, and I did hear that Commissioner Kemp about the county getting money, and then I heard double that amount for the city. It's nice that we're starting to, that the federal government is recognizing cities that are more than 500,000 in population. But as I said, the number I heard was twice as much, but I might have been so excited I was just hearing in stereo.
Well, I thought I originally heard 70 million, and I asked someone, how much did she say for the city? And they said 37 million. They said it was such authority that I thought I maybe heard the first thing wrong. So maybe you're right.
Yeah, we're sticking with the first number.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's fine with
Thank you.
Good. All good. But so I guess with no other comments, and we heard the meeting announcements, and with all my authority and all this in charge of this meeting, I'll adjourn it.
Thank you.
Thanks. So sorry.
Thanks so much.